One of my favourite things about you, Brian, here we go, I'm just going to start complimenting you. One of my favourite things about you, Brian, is you are not scared to give me an opinion if it's a strong opinion. So let's move on to the extra point today. And I hear that you're not happy about something, Brian. Tell me what it is.
I don't know what you're talking about. What the hell is Sean McDermott do? Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, okay, so let's just stick to facts here, because I'm a big fan of facts in 2024. No fake news, I want facts. The Buffalo Bills are supposed to be a Super Bowl contender. That is a fact. The Buffalo Bills are a good team with a Pro Bowl, all-pro quarterback in Josh Allen. The Buffalo Bills had offseason change with Stephon Diggs. They have question marks. Okay, so the foundation has been laid. You have to win every game. You cannot give games away. You cannot be backed up at your end zone on the road against a very good Houston Texans team with 30 seconds left on the clock. All you have to do is run the clock out, and you're going into overtime. The game was 20-20. They had already been down, I think it was 20-7. They are lucky to be in that game. You go into overtime, you have momentum, you find a way to win, and you are moving forward. Sean McDermott did nothing but drag his entire franchise down. Now, Josh Allen had maybe a concussion. He was tested for a concussion. He wasn't making the best of decisions. He only completed 9 of 30 passes. Sean McDermott, that is a fireable offense in the NFL, to call 3 straight passes that are incompletions, and you really don't run any time off the clock. They have to punt the ball. It's a bad punt. The Texans won run play, and they kick a 59-yard field goal and win the game 23-20. You would not do that in Little League. You wouldn't do that in high school. You wouldn't do that in college. And nobody else would do that in the NFL. If you're playing Madden, if you're on social media, nobody else would have made that play call except Sean McDermott made that play call, and the worst part was that he owned it. After. He didn't even say whether it was some drama or some confusion. That would have made it explainable. He said, I just got it wrong. You cannot be an NFL head coach and get it that wrong. And that's why Bills fans, the Bills Mafia, for years, they have questioned whether Sean McDermott is good enough with this team, with all this. It's kind of like a Cowboys situation. You have all this talent. You have this great quarterback. You cannot hold your team and your players back, and that's exactly what we did on Sunday.
Do you respect the fact that he owned it in any way?
No. No, because I don't respect if you're not good enough as a coach. Okay, so it'd be different if it was you or I or fan off the street and we were promoted in that job and we didn't deserve it, right? And we were just kind of winging it and we were playing fantasy football. Sean McDermott was playing fantasy football. The problem is he's one of 32. He's making millions of dollars a year. So if you're not good enough, go get somebody else who is. And he was not good enough on Sunday, and he held the Bills back. So no, I don't respect anything about that. That was just an insanely dumb decision by an NFL head coach that should not be allowed.
Weekly fine for Sean McDermott.
You know what I would do? You don't get a coach next week. Like take us sit down on the bench, buddy. Watch your assistant do it. And learn from somebody, or go pull a fan out of the stands would have been smart enough to run the ball there and run out the clock and go into overtime.
Can I play devil's advocate then? Right, devil's advocate.
I'm very interested to see where this goes.
Right, let's try it. Let's try and play devil's advocate really, really quickly. Okay, so let's say that he doesn't go for it. Like they run the ball down essentially just to get to overtime. They don't get the ball first in overtime, and quickly the Texans score, and then. The papers the next day, us the next day, are saying, well, he should have just gone for it. He's got Josh Allen there. He should have really tried to try and get that victory in the last second there. Can you see any logic with that?
The only logic in that situation, and this is what everyone in the NFL knows to do, is on that first, if you're gonna, because this other part, they're at like the 3-yard line. You're right near the end zone. So you're also in risk of an interception and the game changes there. The only way you do that, and everyone in the world knows it except for Sean McDermott, first play, pass. If that does not go for a big completion, run, punt if you have to, game goes into overtime, and you win that game in overtime. Or here's the thing, you practice all week, you practice all offseason, your players sweat and grind and make all these sacrifices. How can you ask your players to sacrifice and then you give the game away and you gift wrap it to the other team? If I was in the Bills locker room right now, I'd have no faith in my head coach.
Okay, I want to move on to something that I consider fun. In fact, so fun, I'm going to put it in the name. The NFL is fun again. For weeks, Brian, we have been speaking about how there haven't been enough, passing touchdowns. Yeah. It's been not just lower than previous seasons, drastically lower, the number of passing touchdowns over the first 4 weeks of the season. They changed it up. Week 5, it's like they've been listening to us.
It was a good week for the league.
Week 5, I was there at 9 o'clock or, 10:30 or whenever it was on Sunday evening thinking, Hallelujah. Here we go. We have not just got close games. We've had close games over the first 4 weeks, but we have got high-scoring games. We have got the Jaguars, Indianapolis Colts game, which they were both 30 points. We've spoken a little bit about the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Bears put up big points.
Bears put up big points. And not only that, we had like things that don't happen that much, happen multiple times. In the space of about 3 minutes, we had 2 over 100-yard defensive touchdowns, interceptions run, fumble run from the Seahawks and the Denver Broncos as well. These things are what make you love the NFL because you don't expect them to happen. You know, I've been speaking about over the last week about my favorite things in the NFL, right? And what gets me off of my feet. Touchdowns are great, but when it gets to the 5-yard line, when it gets to the 10-yard line, you can kind of anticipate a touchdown might occur in the next play, the next 2 plays. But it's the interceptions that are great. And more than that, it's the interceptions that then get run for 100 yards. And we had that a couple times, as I say, in about 3 minutes on Sunday evening. I feel like there was a sigh of relief for me on Sunday. Not even a sigh of relief because I hadn't even been comprehending how much, I'd been missing all of this action. And it all happened on Sunday. NFL is back, Brian. NFL is back. We are happy about it, and we are excited about the fact that the NFL is finally giving us those high-scoring games. Yeah, Am I too overjoyed about this?
I'm afraid you are. Yeah.
Okay, I'll calm down. I'll calm down.
I feel like the NFL has been really good through the first 4 weeks. I think what we're seeing, and a lot of people talked about this, is so you have far less practice during the offseason anymore. Everything is so regulated. You really don't get to work with these players. During training camp, you have padded helmets on, right? You're not even hitting anymore. You have a very limited preseason. You're only playing 3 preseason games. Your starting quarterback really only plays like a half of 1 game. It takes time to get all this going. I also think that we've seen teams start 5-0. For me, my biggest issue isn't so much the passing touchdowns, and I do love a good pick 6 for 100 yards. There's a lot of mediocrity in the league, right? I was discussing this with a talkSPORT colleague before we started doing this show, and you have 2 teams that are 5-0, right? You have your Vikings that seem a little too good to be true with Sam Darnold, and you have the Chiefs. So what a shock! The Chiefs are 5-0. You've got some good 4-1 teams. The Houston Texans, Detroit Lions are up there as a good team. Baltimore Ravens are very good 3-2. What else do we have in the league this year? It's a lot of 2-3. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of 1-4 teams. It's a lot of teams like where are the Philadelphia Eagles at right now? Where nobody's talking about the Eagles right now. I just think it is overall. It's a bit of a weird start for the league. I've been fine with the football. But there's not much separation.
Isn't that exciting, though, in a way? Because you've got basically, as you say yourself, there's 2 5-0
It's great
teams,
for parity.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's great for parity. You've got 2 5-0 teams. You've got a lot of teams that have 2-3 and 3-2 specifically. Although we are 5 weeks into the season, I think that's an okay place to be.
It's going to set you up really well by the time that we get into November and December, and the coaches always say that's where the real football kicks in. When I was covering NFL teams, you would always hear from the coaches like, well, we're really worried about November and December because you're going to have injuries, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have adversity, all these things. Let's see where a team is at in November. It's really around Thanksgiving where things start to get real in the NFL. So what you're going to have is you're finally going to start to see some separation. And that's why this week when we have these games like Bears, Jaguars, that's a defining game for the Jaguars and for the Bears that are going to be at all good this year. And then our game of the week this week, Detroit Lions versus the Dallas Cowboys, you start to get these matchups where it's like, okay, one team's going to go this way and one team's going to go the other way. But I do agree. I think by the time we get around November, December, because of this parity, you're going to have a lot of teams that are still in it, and that makes for a great end of season.